Welcome, everybody. Turn that off. Am I good, Paul? Echo? Can you get rid of the echo? We have done this before. Okay, thank you. Welcome, everybody. So these mics are actually, unfortunately, we only have two, so we're going to pass this one. And if you guys are familiar with these clip-on mics, make sure you hold it down. Don't talk directly into it. Otherwise, the people on Zoom won't be able to understand as well. I'm Mandy Raudabush. I am the chair of Downers Grove Township Democratic Organization, and I'm the Downers Grove Township clerk now, too. So. Okay. Thank you. And then Jessica O'Malley is our vice chair. Jessica and Diane Page is the chair of York Township, and they are the coordinators of this event. So thank you guys.
Good evening, and thank all of you for being here on such a cold night for this important event. I'm Julia Kennedy Beckman. I'm honored to be tonight's moderator with all of these wonderful candidates. I also want to thank the Downers Grove Township Democratic Organization for hosting and co-hosting with the York Township Organization. Thank you all for that. We want to thank our Zoom guru, Paul Farber, for handling the technology. And let's thank the all-important timer. Would you raise that? And that's what she's going to do. I'm not going to give you her name because she wants to remain anonymous. So here's how this evening will work. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to introduce herself to us, after which I will ask each of them several questions, depending on the amount of time we have. We have a lot of questions prepared. They will be allowed 2 minutes each to answer. The timer will raise a 30-second warning card and a final card when it's time to wind it up, but we will allow you to finish a sentence if that would work. After those questions, I will read some questions from the audience as time permits. And audience members, please write your questions on the available cards and hand them to one of our folks at the end of the aisle. Online participants, please put your questions in the chat. We have a lot of them too. Welcome. Each candidate will again be allowed 2 minutes to answer. And then finally, each candidate will have 1 minute to close their remarks. First, their introductions in alphabetical order. State Representative Margaret Croke. All right. Would you please introduce yourself? Oh yeah, you need it.
And I'm following directions.
Yeah, you are.
For the mic.
And I'm going to try to follow directions and turn it on. Okay.
All right. Good evening, Downers Grove. So I have to start off by saying I'm really excited to be back in this office because last time I was in it, it was Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign. And this office had some of the best numbers for call and phone banking. And Kim is obviously not here, but a really great representative of the organization. So I'm State Representative Margaret Croke. By way of background, I've spent my entire career in public service with my mission being to make Illinois the best place to earn a good wage and raise a family. I'm the mom of 3 kiddos who are 6, 3, and 2, and I'm constantly working to make sure that I'm giving our kids and every single child in the state that they can count on. Before I was a state rep, I was Deputy Chief of Staff at the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, an office that's larger than the Comptrollers and oversees the disbursement of billions of dollars. And now I chair the House Financial Institutions Committee, so I've become the foremost authority in payment processing, financial technology, and depositories, which I'm sure everyone gets really excited about. But I'm running now for Illinois Comptroller because I believe it's such a crucial time for our state with so much going on all around us. And I think we could be doing more in the office. So my plan is simple. I want to modernize our payment system, streamline our audits, make sure we are enforcing our prevailing wage laws, and make sure that we are paying our vendors and our nonprofits on time so that they don't have to close their doors. I value fiscal responsibility. I don't think that's a bad thing, but I understand that fiscal responsibility goes hand in hand with making sure we are protecting our most vulnerable communities. I've been able to be on the front lines of investments in education, healthcare, our social service safety net, but we can't make those investments if we don't have stable funding. We can't give our kids the future they deserve if we don't have a fiscal house that's in order. So now with so much chaos around us, I think we all can be scared at times, but in Illinois, I think we have the opportunity to lead. We can lead with good governance, balanced budgets, and making sure we are investing in our people. I thank you all for being here, and I hope to earn your support.
Am I next alphabetically? Yeah. Okay, all right. Well, then we organically maybe just did that. So hi, everyone. My name is Holly Kim. Good evening. And I am running for Illinois Comptroller. Oh, down here. Okay. I currently have the honor of serving 2 terms as Lake County Treasurer up in Lake County, Illinois, where I manage $3.2 billion in the 3rd largest county in Illinois. So every check goes out with my name on it, which means out of all the people up here running, I'm the only one already doing the job. I came from a background of extreme financial hardship where I had a kid in college and I had to sign up for WIC, Medicaid, the Head Start program, and LIHEAP. And so there's part of me that wants to make sure we prioritize the swift reimbursement to all of our social services because I remember what it was like. You will find no fiercer protector of you and your family and your money than someone who's had to claw it all back brick by brick from there. And so I'm very proud to stand before you as a 2-term county treasurer where I manage billions in public funds. So my specialty is actually tangibly changing government, and I have the receipts to prove it. Over at the village, I taught people how to appeal their assessments so they keep more money in their pockets for their families. At the township, we physically converted a boardroom, taking out the dais, into a shopping cart food pantry. And over at the treasurer's office, I delivered 200% investment returns from the previous treasurer who was there. And I was able to give $6.4 million back to my schools, my parks, my libraries. And it's unusual that government gives money back, but I found a way and I'm very proud of that. So here's what I'll do as controller. Nothing wrong with wanting to do the job. I'm going to process map and make it efficient, cut waste, beef up our cybersecurity, roll out modernization and software. But I'm also a privacy rights advocate. And right now, more than ever, we need somebody who's going to fight for us in that office to protect all of our data from MAGA overreach. I'm also a fierce protector of our unions, as my office of treasurer has unionized through AFSCME 31, and I plan to champion our prevailing wage department as well. So I'm kind of a combination between not only being a financial person who has the expertise of running an office and billions of dollars, but also social issues. I'm a woman who's had an abortion and used IVF and has a trans child, and I will fight and stand with you during this tumultuous time. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, it's quite in alphabetical.
That's okay.
Stephanie Kifowit is next.
Yeah, that's okay. Hold it right here. Oh, very good. All right, thank you all. My name is Stephanie Kifowit, and I'm currently a state representative. Just this week, we launched our first digital ad, so you can go to kifowitforcontroller.com. And it's really kind of personal to me because we highlighted the fact that I went and honored the 75th anniversary of D-Day with Colonel De Liberte, who has since passed away, a World War II veteran, by skydiving at Skydive Chicago. And it kind of is the metaphor of my life because I have not shied away from doing tough things. When I was 17, I joined the United States Marine Corps and I served for 4 years on active duty. I put myself through college, and when my daughter was 1 year old, I signed up for my master's degree, and I have a master's degree in public administration with an emphasis on government finance. And then when childcare costs got a little too much after my son came along, I stopped working full-time as a registered financial advisor with Morgan Stanley Dean Witter, but I still wanted to serve my community, and I stepped up and took the leap to serve as alderman for the city of Aurora. And I did that for well over 9 years. The budget of Aurora is roughly around $500 million, and we did manage a ton of money for our employees. And then I decided to take a leap again, and I ran for state representative for the state of Illinois. I had a competitive race and I came out, and I have been doing that since 2013. So I'm the only individual on this panel that actually served under the Quinn years, the Rauner years, and through now the Pritzker years, being on key budget working groups. So I do digress and say we have a treasurer, and Treasurer Kim does a great job as a treasurer, but we also have a controller. And I know the $124 billion budget the state of Illinois has, the 700 different funds,
the 16 million transactions that go through that office, the 224 full-time equivalent headcount. In addition to that, phase 2 of the modernization program that's already in place, that's $53 million that Susana Mendoza is championing for the technological upgrades. So thank you all very much, and I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Senator.
Hi all. Hi all. I am Karina Villa, and I am the Illinois State Senator of the 25th Senate District. I flipped two districts in order to become a state senator. But let me tell you, I've been fighting for the working people my whole career. I am running for this seat because right now, I'm sure that all of us on this stage could do a fine job of controller. We need more than competence right now. We need bold leaders who are going to use every single lever of the office to fight against this Trump regime. The controller is able to decide in what order to pay the bills. I will always pay it first in the order of the people who need it the most. Next, the controller has the ability to decide about procurement for the state of Illinois. And when it comes to procurement, I will make sure as the controller that what we are not doing is investing in companies who have contracts with ICE. I will make sure that we use our state dollars to put our values where our dollars where our values are. Also, the controller has the best view as to where the money is coming from. And we need to make sure that what we're doing here in the state of Illinois is that we are fully funding programming, that we are not balancing budgets on the backs of working people, that instead that we are making sure that billionaires and corporations are paying their fair shares. Because right now we are slashing the budget. We're slashing the budget for healthcare, for mental health, for education. We need to hold those billionaire cronies that are friends with Donald Trump accountable here in the state of Illinois. And I will do just that. Thank you so much.
All right, now we get into the questions. Many of you have already spoken about your experience.
You don't have with the microphone.
Pretty important to this job. So my question for you, and I will start with how will you handle the daily function when you're managing the team?
Well, thank you for that question, Julia. And I've worked hand in hand with controllers from Judy Bartopinka to Leslie Munger to Susana Mendoza. And so I actually, as a controller, it's a team effort. And I know Susana's team is top notch. Like Kevin Chauvin is the assistant controller in Springfield, and Cesar Orzozco is the assistant controller in Chicago. She has a team. And to run a large office like this, I have worked with Susana's team. I know their names. Chris Bell, I've known her for 12 years. And I think to run a large office, you need to work and embrace the team. And my experience has been in nonprofits. I've been on nonprofit boards. We've turned Illinois Joining Forces into the premier veteran organization of the state. I've also done consulting for municipalities. And as a United States Marine Corps, it's all about embracing the team and working with the team. And I'm the only one on this panel who has actually worked with the controller's team, who's actually worked with some of our employees and actually know what the controller's doing. I know that the modernization program, the $53 million computer system, that is already identifying cybersecurity. It is already identifying areas in which we need to improve. The computer system's Fortran. It needs to be updated, and the legacy system is already in place. And Susana Mendoza's been doing a great job with technological upgrades. And so as the only candidate here that knows how the job functions, that knows the senior leadership by name of that office, I can step in on day one and we can work together to make sure that the controller's office becomes the modern office that it is. My People First initiative, we're going to expand the labor division. We're going to expand that, not only prevailing wage, but benefits. And our nonprofit and community division will make sure that our nonprofits are taken care of, that they have somebody to talk to and somebody to reach out to. So I know what the controller's office does. I'm ready to start at day one. And I thank you so much for that question.
All right, next would be Senator Villa. We're just going to go down the line.
Got it. We do need to make sure that we are modernizing everything and making sure that our vendors are getting paid on time, especially some of the small businesses that are doing business with the state. We need to make sure that we're being fully transparent. What does that mean, full transparency? It doesn't just mean that we're going to jump up and down and say, I paid the bills on time. What it means is that we need to show where the budget shortfalls are. So I will be making sure that we have a dashboard that is readable to the public that says, yes, I paid this bill on time, but this is how much was missing. This is how much was missing from that line item in order to fully fund those services. So let me tell you, where is this money going to come from? The money is going to come from those billionaires and those corporations. Those billionaires and those corporations that are getting those tax vacations right now from Donald Trump. As a state senator, I am currently introducing a bill to do just that, to tax the billionaires. As controller, I will work with both the House and the Senate members to bring more revenue ideas to the table, to ensure that we are not putting the fixes of this budget on the backs of the working people. Because the people here in the state of Illinois cannot afford one more dollar. They simply cannot afford to pay one more dollar. But those billionaires and corporations who are getting those tax vacations right now from Donald Trump, those are the people that we need to hold accountable. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, certainly. The question was, most of you, all of you have done a lot with budgets and large budgets. So the question is, how will you handle the daily functioning of the office? And the next person would be Treasurer Kim.
Thank you very much. So out of everyone up here, I do have the most direct management experience. Having a child in college and shifting to working full-time while going to school part-time and juggling a kid it took me 8.5 years, but I crawled across that finish line and got my degree. Now what that means is I graduated with no student loans and lots of work experience, but every single job I had after then was always management and director level. So I will say the most experience that I have is in management and HR, just the fact that human touch of doing personal performance improvement plans while looking people in the eye, having to, hear about things like furlough days from our board and implementing things with, like unionizing with my staff. This is all hands-on stuff. I had to go to very much different departmental meetings in order to coordinate stuff within my office. But what I'm very proud of is it was so stodgy when I first started in this office. There were mail in bins and people were hand entering receipts and we digitized work. It's like Google Office. People can work from home now, not only 1 day, but 2 days. And we're testing out a third, even though I'm a geriatric millennial. And I told my deputy, I'm like, but he's younger than me and I'm ready to modernize. And modernize sometimes means more than software. It means preparing your workplace for the future. And so younger people want different things and better work-life balance than we have. So I'm very proud of that. Additionally, there's lots of hands-on stuff that I've worked on directly, like lowering fees and implementing new procedures in my office, like with our investment firms. I stacked them all like Survivor Island and made them compete against each other. That's how I was able to get 200% interest returns. And so I'm very proud to say when it comes to direct management, that's what my expertise and specialty is. Let's see here. I also wanted to say that during COVID time, right, during times of hardship, that's when it matters most who's been a weathered sea captain at the wheel. And during COVID time, I literally had to buy shower curtains in order to separate where our payment areas were because we couldn't take the checks home to work on them. And so it's these types of decisions that really work for direct management of the office. Thank you.
Thank you. So I mentioned my experience at Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. So even before then, when I was working on Governor Pritzker's first campaign in 2018, they kept me on to do personnel because we knew that we were going to have to staff up significantly taking over after the Rauner administration. So even in that first place, having to understand how to staff an office and agencies across the entire state. Then when we went over to Department of Commerce, you can imagine when you don't have a budget for 3 years, that the office is completely decimated. We had to rebuild the office to the point we didn't even have a grants department, and that office is responsible for all those capital dollars that are received throughout the state. So personnel, legislative affairs, special projects like capital, those are all things that I have managed directly in a experience where you have an office that is larger than the comptrollers, I think is incredibly important. Then in addition to that, you think about how do all of these agencies work together? I know that it's great to talk about wanting to go in and blow things up and start a new program, but you have to understand in state government that there are different levers that you have to pull. You have to work with the General Assembly in a lot of different cases. You have to work with JCAR, which is the Joint Administrative Rules, just to get some things done. And that's all experience that I have had. Experience actually doing work within the state of Illinois. And then during COVID, when everything got shut down, we had to stand up all new programs. We had to make sure that we were getting millions of dollars in the hands of small businesses so that they did not close. So I also have a lot of experience when it comes to the programmatic level. I feel very, very comfortable as someone who's worked at the county level, at the city level, at the state level, in two different positions of how to be able to manage this office. I think it also always starts with making sure you have a strategic plan and that everyone is working in the same direction, that you have a mission of the office. So I think in the first week, that's something that I hope to establish.
Thank you.
Oh, do you want this one? Okay.
Turned on.
Oh, it's off right now. You got it? No, the red light.
There it is. Got it. Sorry. All right. The next question is, and I think we will begin with Senator Villa. How and why is the Comptroller's job affected by federal policy? And what is your plan to respond to federal policy that impacts Illinois?
In order to answer that question, we need to know where we all came from. Simply by being brown, stepping outside of my front door is dangerous. Federal policy right now is attacking our people. How will I impact it? With every single lever that this office holds. We need bold leaders right now. Bold leaders who are transparent, not just paying lip service and sitting down the next day. This morning, I went into somebody's home to sit with a 13-year-old girl whose father was taken, and last month her mother actually died. That's where I was at this morning. This is personal to me. I was a school social worker. Miss Villa is my favorite title, always will be my favorite title. This is not just about numbers on a spreadsheet. These are faces. Faces of everyday people who cannot afford one more increase to their expenditures. We're going to fight this Trump regime with every lever. No contracts for his cronies who are doing business with ICE. Number one, day one. Those billionaires who are getting tax vacations will be held accountable here in the state of Illinois. I am not about lip service. I am with the people. This is the people's money. The controller seat is about who is going to be the most equipped. Who do you believe the most in? Who will be a good steward of the people's money?
Thank you so much. So it is really horrible times. And I would say uniquely, you need someone who's not only capable of doing this position and being a steady hand, but also someone who's going to fight alongside you. I've been to every single No Kings rally, Women's March. I started 2 rapid response teams to fight ICE. I think that matters, in addition to being someone who does the math and the numbers. I'm really looking forward to the fact that my history has the time where I brought my kids to the doctor's office using the All Kids program. And then right after I graduated college, I worked in a doctor's office that took Medicaid, and I was able to do the billing, the ICD-9 codes, and personally see how the cash flow is interrupted when the appropriations bucket runs out and the controller's office doesn't give us any money. But then additionally, I sat on the board of Hunnell Family Alliance, which is a senior care organization during the time of Rauner and Leslie Munger, when she was withholding any reimbursements. And it was such a dire time, 2 years, no budget. I remember sitting at the board meeting saying to my fellow board members, we only have 2 months left of operating budget. Who's going to go to these seniors' homes to clean them and feed them? And it just made absolutely no sense to me that we would accrue $1.2 billion in late fees just by not paying bills. That's fiscally irresponsible. So as someone who has a multifaceted lens of every aspect of dealing with the controller's office, I will definitely make sure during this time of overreach that our social service programs have prompt reimbursement. Also, I'm a huge privacy rights advocate. When I was a village trustee and they launched license plate readers, I made them follow every single rule of the ACLU. So you best bet this office that has every single one of our tax filings and returns, you're going to have a privacy rights champion who's going to be standing here protecting the tentacles of the federal government from reaching it, because you see Kwame Raoul is literally suing the federal government who's trying to get privacy data and license plate information. So I will deliver them a hefty FU on your behalf. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'll start off by saying I think what we all know, everything that Donald Trump is doing when it comes to freezing our dollars is unconstitutional. It's one of the reasons that when we do bring a lawsuit because he has denied SNAP benefits or Head Start, it's quickly overturned. But the issue that I am always concerned about is there going to be a opportunity for a judge who's been put there by the Donald Trump administration to allow for that funding freeze. And that keeps me up at night. So one of the programs that I'm excited to modernize within the Comptroller's office is called the Vendor Payment Program. And essentially, we haven't had to use it for a very long time because we are in such a great position because of Governor Pritzker and Susana Mendoza, where we don't have a bill backlog. But this program would allow us to work with financial institutions where they essentially buy some of the bills that we have, the invoices that we have, and then we owe the financial institution money as well as the interest on those bills if we don't pay them within the 90 days. But those small businesses, those small nonprofits, they get paid within the 90 days. And why that's so important is because those are the organizations, those are the businesses that can't float for 90 days. Those are the businesses that can't always go get a line of credit and just operate on that for years. So it's a program that I'm looking at because I feel much better about owing a financial institution money and that versus knowing that we are going to be in a Rauner-like situation where our social service agencies completely collapse. I will always put our nonprofits though first. They provide such an outsized impact for their communities. You see what they do. And as someone who's participated, in the budget making process for 5 years, I can't allow for those amazing organizations to close. So that is the program I'd like to utilize.
Thank you. Kifowit?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Doing this again.
Yeah,
We're doing the microphone dance. So thank you very much. As the only person here that actually served in the General Assembly during the Rauner years, seeing firsthand the devastation, seeing firsthand and getting the phone calls from the nonprofits and working with Susana Mendoza to get ourselves turned around. I was on the budget working group. So unlike Representative Croke, I've been looking at the state budget for well over 12 years. And I've been on key budget committees, including the internal budget working group that got us out of the budget impasse, and including being the co-sponsor of the transparency law that was referenced in the questions with regard to the vendor assistance program. So the vendor assistance program, we need to do all we can to not trigger it because it costs the state of Illinois 12% interest. It costs us a lot of money. So what we're doing right now, though, as being key on the budget working group even now, and Governor Pritzker has instituted reserves. So we do have a reserve program in which, although we give appropriation authority, the governor is not going to spend all that authority. So in a sense, he's just holding back some of the appropriation authority and making sure that we are being pretty strong. In fact, last night, Susana Mendoza said, on the point is that we are in a stronger position than we ever were during the Rauner impasse. And so she was asked a question about the federal government, and I agree. our budget is pretty strong, and with the reserve tactics that the governor is doing, we are sitting off pretty good. So with regards to the controller's office, one thing we need to be is at the ready. And as a United States Marine Corps veteran, I can fight, and I have fought. I stood up to Bruce Rauner during the impasse. I stood up to Mike Madigan. He's in jail now. And so I am well equipped to stand up to Donald Trump because I've seen all these games before during the impasse. And one of the things we have to do is at the ready. So when the SNAP benefits were available, Illinois was not at the ready. We only got 50% of our SNAP benefits, and 6 states got 100% of that. So one thing I'm going to make sure we do is we're at the ready to grab any benefits we can once we're able to do that and be quick and efficient with that. So thank you very much.
Next question we will begin with. Yeah. And this is a little longer.
You got it?
I got it this time. While the treasurer handles investments, the comptroller has a voice in fiscal policy and reporting. As a member of the Illinois State Board of Investment, how would you balance your fiduciary duty to maximize returns for retirees and investors, but you'll balance that with considerations for environmental and social issues that may impact investment decisions? Did you get that whole question?
I did get that whole question.
Sorry?
I think you started with Senator.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
We'll start with Treasurer Kim then.
Sure. All right, thank you. So
Not
I
following
do
my
love
own
this question because I do invest. And one of the things I did as Lake County Treasurer when I first got into this office was I started ESG policy, which is environmental social governance. Before running for office, I had a sustainability nonprofit. And sustainability runs on not only economic sustainability, social, but also environmental. So it's all three different things, including the finances, right? So we had that policy before Treasurer Ferks made it mandatory for the state of Illinois. So I'm very proud to say that I was championing that in my office. And so even with that, we were able to deliver 200% investment returns. And what that means is there's a bucket that the county board can use whatever money comes out of that in interest. And it used to produce 2 million, but after I got there, it produced 6 million. So it not only paid for my department, I was able to give $4 million back for the county board to use on whatever they want. And so I'm very socially conscious of our investments. I even said plainly, I don't want us investing in any sort of drug companies when we're fighting a war against opioids, right? So we need to make sure that sustainable message is throughout. So not only will I hold accountable our investments as well to maximize in considering ESG as well, but I also want to implement some new policies as well, because if there's any sort of investment that is involved in war crimes or humanitarian crises, and I would like blanket wording on that so we don't have to switch the country's names as things develop, then I would likely vote no on that, and I would make it known that we should make a policy that doesn't allow us during those times to invest in people who are making egregious crimes against humanity. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So I appreciate this question. I think that fiduciary responsibility is always going to be a core value within the comptroller's office because we need to make sure that we are maximizing taxpayer dollars. I always want to figure out within the comptroller's office, are there ways that we could be getting additional revenues for the things that we care about? But at the same time, I recognize that fiduciary responsibility will look differently depending on if we're talking about investing in organizations or companies where they are risking our safety within our communities or just, causing chaos within our communities. And that may look different. It's going to be a case-by-case basis, to be frank. It's going to be something where, as a member of ISB, you have to look at these individual investments. I think about the transparency component of this. I think that you as taxpayers should be able to know how the state of Illinois is investing your dollars. And how that plays into the comptroller's office is making sure that we have systems in place where you can see how money is being spent. I think if we start with transparency, we're going to regain trust. And I know that as a state representative, when I knock doors, trust seems to be always missing when it comes to state government. It was one of the reasons I voted against Mike Madigan. It was the first thing I did as a state rep. So I will say case by case basis, but fiduciary responsibility looks different for every single investment.
Thank you. Thank you for this question. As the only individual who's a registered financial advisor, who was a registered financial advisor on this, in this race, I know the value of strong investment returns. And just last week, I said on a statement that I would oppose any legislation that would allow the pension systems to invest in crypto or artificial intelligence stocks. Why is that? Because I was a registered financial advisor during the dot-com bubble. I understand that these risky fads are not for our investment portfolio. As a member of the board, we also recognize, and as chair of pensions, I also recognize the direct results of our returns on our pension payment. When we have good returns for our pensions, our pension payment, our mandatory payment goes down. So we need to make sure that we maximize every single investment that we have. Now, I appreciate Treasurer Kim as the treasurer. Michael Fricks is the treasurer, but the controller is on the board of the pensions. And as the chair of pensions, I know 100% what is going on with our pension portfolio. I've been an advocate for tier 2 fix for our pensions, and also how we're going to pay for those pension benefits as well. So what I think is important is to take a stand, to know the legislative process, to know when the list of acceptable investment portfolios that are state law, by state law, we are bound by our investment portfolios. If people are going to try to change that for risky investments, we will oppose those. And as a registered financial advisor, I know what a balanced portfolio is, and I know how to get investment returns as well for not only individuals, but also for units of government when I was on the Aurora City Council. So I'm the only one here that's qualified to be on the Illinois Investment Board. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. So my approach here to the Illinois State Board of Investments, we have to remember that this is the people's money. Risky investments, I agree with Rep. Kifowit about crypto and how that's considered a very, risky investment. Also, I would never support any money or new investments from our dollars to fund a genocide. Hard stop. I am actually a proud co-sponsor, chief co-sponsor of the anti-BDS bill right now. When it comes to politics, everything is on the line right now. Every single elected official at every single level needs to look at their office. If you're on the library board, you need to pay attention to make sure that we have a diverse array of books for our children, that we have books that are not silencing or suppressing our history. If you are on the school board, you need to make sure that there is a plan in place for when ICE comes into your schools. If you are in the city council, you need to uplift the voices of the LGBTQ folks. And as a state senator and as the state controller, I will be using every single lever available to the office to stand up and speak out for the values that we as Illinoisans hold true. Thank you.
Me first. I think you're right. I think you're right.
Representative Croke. This is also a rather long question, but I think you'll get it.
Okay.
There are ongoing attempts at pursuing a graduated income tax amendment, one of which I think failed a few years ago in the state of Illinois, and there is growing support among the public. As the state's chief fiscal reporter, what would be your stance on this proposal? And how would you communicate its potential impact on Illinois' credit rating and fiscal health to the public?
So thanks for the question. So the progressive income tax, it was proposed, I'm going to say 5 years ago, because that's when I ran the first time and it was on the ballot at the same time as me. So I'm on the record of being a supporter of the progressive income tax. I've supported it when we were doing the initiatives and the organizing around it. And then also, as we talk about it right now in the current context, most of our states are progressive income tax. We are in the minority actually with the flat tax. However, I will say that I think the way to actually pass that and to have the conversation is talking about real property tax reform. And that means not just exemptions or the ability to appeal. It means talking about the fact that the state of Illinois has the most units of local government in the entire country, that we have the most amount of taxing bodies, that we need to talk about caps on how much a taxing body can levy every single year, that we need to talk about assessment and reform within the entire process by which we value properties. So I think when you are able to talk about the progressive income tax, which is a progressive tax, not regressive tax, and you're also talking about property taxes, you're going to get a lot more people on board. But we have a history in the state of Illinois of talking about how we are going to pass additional revenues and then we're going to get you property tax relief, whether that was the lottery, where we said the lottery was going to fund every single kid's school. You know, people have a hard time believing us. So I think that if we're going to have these conversations, we have to have the real talks about how do we give tax relief in other ways, because otherwise we're talking about adding additional taxing liabilities, and people have concerns about that.
Thank you. Thank you for that question, Julia. Again, as the longest serving representative on this panel, I have voted twice for the millionaire tax referendum to go on the ballot as an advisory referendum. I have voted to put the progressive tax on the ballot, and it did fail. One of the things we have to keep reminding people, though, is that our budget right now has had 10 credit upgrades. But in order to keep our credit upgrades going up, we need to fix the structural imbalance of our budget. And Representative Croke touched on that. One of the big things is we need to ensure that people can stay in their homes with property tax relief if we are going to do a progressive tax. We need to tell people where this money is going to go, so that we don't have counties like Lake County and St. Clair County that are taking exemptions away from our disabled veterans. And then I have to work with Senator Morrison to change the law and give these disabled veterans back their exemptions. We need to make sure that people can stay in their homes. The second thing we need to do, though, is we need to pay down the pension deficit. We have a pension liability that's over $140 billion. And that started from the Edgar ramp. Terrible policy that allowed the state to take pension holidays, that allowed the state to shirk their payments when our employees never shirked their payments. They paid every single dime. And so one of the things we have to do is put a lockbox around any additional funds, a portion of those funds, so that we can pay down the debt of the state of Illinois. And we pay down that huge debt, our credit ratings are going to go up as well. So we need to have fiscal responsibility. And I've been working on this for over 12 years. And I've been working with the Comptroller's office with regards to the Budget Stabilization Act, the Pension Stabilization Act, and passing real legislation that helps the state of Illinois, that helps our credit rating, and will help rebuild the trust of the people in our state. And we have to do that legislatively and lock those monies in to where they're going to go. So thank you very much.
All right, let's do a little lesson. Who passes the budget in the state of Illinois? The General Assembly, the House and the Senate, right? Then they assign how much money has to go over to the Comptroller and how much money to pay the bills. So when I'm the Comptroller, whatever the General Assembly has told me to do, I have to make those payments. I have to make them on time. When I hear that people are saying we're in really good health right now financially, I'm going to tell you something. Go talk to someone who has a child with special needs. Go talk to someone who lives in the Southlands whose water issues are so horrific. Talk to someone who's a senior on a fixed income. Talk to someone who just graduated college and is trying to find a place to rent. The way that we're passing our budgets here in the state of Illinois currently right now is by slashing the funding, cutting the funding to all of these services. We have one of the most regressive tax structures in the United States of America. We must change that. We must. There's no option. Right now, the way that we are taxing people, we will not have enough money to fix the pension obligations, to fund housing. This morning, my office was very busy this morning. This morning, I was talking to two people who were unhoused living in their car and their car broke down. Imagine this cold weather. Right? We have a problem. It's a financial problem. We need to fix it. In the seat of the controller, I will be using the microphone of the controller across the state of Illinois to tell these stories and to work with the legislators in the General Assembly to bring more revenue to the state of Illinois. And yes, I do support the new, different type of tax system. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm a huge proponent of the progressive tax, and I was saddened, that it didn't pass last time. I'm not a legislator though, so I was just cheering it from the side. I do believe, honestly, with everything that Trump is doing, and now, our governor, J.B. Pritzker, is saying to hold, $500 million on the side for everything that's about to happen, rocky waters and storms ahead. We can't keep putting Band-Aids on symptoms. I do think we need to pass the progressive tax in order to fund all these appropriation buckets that are not being filled completely, or all the things that are being underfunded, as Senator Villa points out. And it needs to be self-reliant and sustainable, and that's where the progressive tax comes in. Look, the first time it didn't pass, and for whatever reason, we're not that great at messaging. And the first key is admitting you have a problem. But I think we could do a better job in messaging when we bring it up this time. And as controller, you're on top of a lot of data in that office. And what I'd love to do as someone who not only live streams, but goes on podcasts and does explanation videos, is show the difference in how much it costs you in your taxes right now versus if we tax the billionaires. This is how much it would cost you. And I think really what we needed was some sort of cover so those legislators who are in the purple or slightly more red areas had the ability to vote yes if they had some sort of images, graphics, and messages they could bring back to their hometown area. So I would row in the same direction to get that passed. And I'm a huge proponent of the progressive tax. Now, the other thing I'd want to mention is if we want to tax the billionaires and the millionaires, number one, we got to stop taking money from them. And I'm someone who has almost 1,000 donors that are at $200 or less for their donations. I do not have any donations from billionaires. And I'm very proud to say that I'm very independently minded on that. And I will be your independent fiscal watchdog that's literally fighting for the people. It comes from people and unions, and that's what we need. If we want real change, it's because we need to change how elections are funded. And so you can have no doubt in your mind that I will stand for you and the people. Thank you.
The next question will begin with Representative Kifowit. The Illinois Rainy Day Fund has grown to a record high that's been mentioned tonight of nearly $2.5 billion. Yet it still only covers about 14 or 15 days of state operations. National averages, I understand, are closer to 50 days. So how do you plan to balance the need for immediate bill payments with the long-term goal of building a more robust emergency reserve?
Well, thank you, Julia. I was part of the Budget Stabilization Act. It was passed in 2022. It came into effect in 2023, and it actually helped bring that up. We were at $48,000, which was like 30 seconds of state spending. And so being at $2.4 billion is quite the achievement. And Susana Mendoza has done a great job in working with that and working with the General Assembly to not only pass the Budget Stabilization Act, but also the Pension Stabilization Act. So I think that we need to just keep going the way that we're going, just like every family does when they're trying to increase their savings. Sometimes they can put $100 in that savings account. Sometimes they can put $500 and sometimes they can put $200. But at the end of the day, we're still putting money into that rainy day fund. And that fund is for a catastrophe. And if we would have had some of that funding for the budget impasse, it would have helped out a lot. Now, one of the things that I'm proposing as a former registered financial advisor is right now the interest of that $2.4 billion gets scooped up and put in the general revenue fund. Now, as I said, the controller's office manages 700 different funds, and it goes into 8 different fund categories. And of that category is a general revenue fund. And of those categories is like bond and interest funds and the road fund and other funds. So one of the things that I would propose is not to allow that scooping or that sweeping of the interest, but let the interest continue to be reinvested into that fund and let it naturally grow within the fund balance that we have there. So again, as you know, I've been there 12 years. I've been through a lot through the budget impasse and working with Susanna Mendoza. She has been really a fire and got the state in the right direction. I continue to do that with follow her lead and continue to grow the Budget Stabilization Act and continue to work with the General Assembly, because the part of this office is key, is working with the legislators to make sure that we have fiscally responsible legislation that allows that to grow as well. So thank you, Julia. Does it go down or around? Oh.
So rainy day fund. Illinoisans are living paycheck to paycheck. Illinoisans are living a paycheck or 2 paychecks behind. So now we're saying, let's take your money, and instead of assisting in the services that you need to make ends meet, let's put it away in a rainy day fund. That's a little confusing to me and to the people of Illinois who I've been talking to. Credit ratings are very critical. How do we make sure that we do save for a rainy day when the time is appropriate? I believe you save for a rainy day when you have excess in revenue. But if you don't have excess in revenue, how are you going to be putting money away? It would be the same thing for me to say, those folks that have 2 paychecks behind, for me to say, why don't you start saving some of your money for a rainy day, right? People are going to look at me like I'm a little bit nuts. Same thing. So let's bring revenue to the table to fully fund our programs once they are fully funded, because when we're looking at credit ratings, the only thing they look at is not rainy day fund. They also want to see the health of the state overall. And if the health of our state overall is that our housing is a problem, people can't access food, education is a mess, we haven't paid down our pension obligations, our ratings will suffer. Let's bring common sense solutions. Some billionaires out there that have some extra money, some wealthy folks that we need to make sure are paying their fair share. Once we have a healthy revenue and some excess, then we start putting more money away for that rainy day. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so here are my thoughts on the rainy day fund. Currently, Susanna Mendoza, the Comptroller's office, does try to push a bill where if there's over 5% in revenues growth from last year, they would automatically allocate some amount to either the rainy day fund and to pensions, which I think is very important. I think that an early pension payment that they did, well, early payment, that's what granted us our 10th credit upgrade. And where this is important is that when the state of Illinois needs to borrow money, they can do it with a lower interest rate. You know, it's no different than any of us who have a credit rating. And when we pay off our bills, we get a higher credit score, and that's how that works. Susanna Mendoza herself has been my work mentor the last 7 years. And so I learned directly from her. And last night, even on WGN, she said that Holly Kim does similar work and that she's my mentor and that she thinks I'm amazing. Thank you very much, Susanna. And, you know, I would also like to clarify that the interest does stay in the rainy day fund and it doesn't get swept. And so I will be fiscally prudent and keep plugging away to add more money whenever possible, but also working with legislators and being a realist about this, right? If there's no money to sweep, we just need to agree on what the threshold is in order to do any kind of a sweep whenever possible. And I will also be a staunch watchdog against rating our rainy day fund. We are number 49th out of 50 in terms of states on how much we have in our rainy day fund. And that has to be thought of too. Like, we can't be rating a 2-week allocation. Jokingly, my kids say that I'm much like somebody from TLC's Extreme Cheapskates at home. And so I'll bring certainly that mentality to this office. Thank you.
Thank you. And Representative Croke?
Thank you. So similarly, yes, I think it's important to talk about why do we want to fund the rainy day fund, why it's important to our credit rating, and why do we care about our credit rating. So the rainy day fund we've seen grow over the last 8 years or 7 years that Governor Pritzker has been in office. It was nothing beforehand. Credit ratings are important because they impact our bond rating. So when we go into the bond market and we want to make long-term investments like into public infrastructure or our school system, that's why that credit rating matters so much, because the interest rate, depending on how high or low it is the money that we have to pay back. We want to make sure that we have the best credit rating possible. And S&P and Moody's have said specifically that early pension payments and the rainy day fund are some of the reasons that they've been increasing our credit rating. Also, if we have a good credit rating, so we also continue to increase our funds into the rainy day fund, we could be going out to the bond market to get better payments on our pensions. So what I mean by that is that we're able to make go in the bond market at a better interest rate than the interest that we pay on our pension liability. We need to explore that because that's just free money that we are leaving on the table. And I feel like we see a lot of that, unfortunately, in the Comptroller's office because of our systems, that we have opportunities to get better federal match, that we have opportunities just to have better predictive financial modeling. And the fact that we're not utilizing those tools is problematic. We have interest going into the rainy day fund. There are 4 different funds that go into the rainy day fund, but because of the situation we've been in the budget, we've only been keeping the interest in. We don't put GRF in there. We don't put our cannabis revenues in there. So at least at a minimum, required contributions into the rainy day fund are something that we need to make sure we're doing.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Now, the next one will go to Senator Villa. Illinois has historically struggled with late payment interest penalties. We've touched on that, but on unpaid technology and vendor bills. Comptroller Mendoza's vendor program transparency bill, which we mentioned earlier, passed in the Senate late last year with nearly unanimous approval. What more can be done to alleviate this issue, and what specific technological or process upgrades will you implement in the Comptroller's office to reduce these penalties and make state spending more transparent to the average taxpayer? And did you listen to all that question?
That's a long question. Thank you. Yeah. Transparency is really important, especially when it comes to vendors, especially when it comes to vendors who are small business owners and vendors of color and women. It's really critical that we make sure that we're opening up these opportunities as the federal government is slashing those opportunities for small vendors. I will make sure that I have a team ready to look for those bottlenecks that exist for slowing down payments here in the state of Illinois, to make sure that our vendors are getting paid on time. I'm forgetting the other parts of the question.
Let's see. Yes, let me try that again. The transparency bill passed with nearly unanimous approval. What more can be done to alleviate the issue? What specific technological or process upgrades will you implement?
Yes.
To reduce the penalties.
Okay. The other part as well is that we need to make sure that the office is accessible. So we need to modernize some systems there, including not just for the vendors, but for the employees of the state of Illinois. You know, they're still doing archaic handwritten reimbursement notes for gas reimbursement. Now, when it comes to, yes, the Comptroller has been able to do all of this in regards to payments on time now. Let's remember where she came in. She came in under Bruce Rauner, 3 years of no budget. She came in and started making those payments on time in the order of the people who needed it the most. Then we flipped over and got our governor, Governor Pritzker in office. That's when I came in as well. Things have been going well because the state of Illinois had excess in money during COVID. Did you all know that? The manufacturers made a ton of money during COVID. That's how we had the excess money to start putting away money for the rainy day fund. That's how we were in the General Assembly able to vote to make sure to put that money away, to pay bills down, et cetera. What is coming right now from the Trump regime is going to put us worse than what was happening under the Rauner administration. The only way we fight from going backwards is by bringing more revenue to the table from corporations and billionaires. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so a little bit of back history on the vendor program transparency bill. So what was happening in the past, which is why Susanna Mendoza in the Comptroller's office ran this bill, is that technology payments, invoices weren't being paid. And if it gets over 3 months, what kicks in is the fact that the state law says you have to tack on a 12% interest annually. And so what she ran the bill was, hey, would you give me the ability to float out of the reserves the exact amount so we don't have to pay this interest? And that's what was approved about a year ago. And so shout out to the Comptroller's office, for any questions that I have. They're a great tutor. But along those lines, so then what can we do in order to alleviate? I would say, well, then the logical answer is fill the appropriations bucket with more, which is very easy, but not easy to do, of course, because there's plenty of stuff that's underfunded. This is where I go back to pass the progressive tax, because there's plenty of things that are underfunded, but it's because you and I are paying the bill. And if the billionaires just paid their fair share, we'd have enough. And we wouldn't have to fight each other, whether it's us on common ground or us across different parties or Southern Illinois and Central. Like, we wouldn't have to fight each other. The example I'll give you is, in the transit bill recently, like 45% of the funding that would have gone to downstate transit or roads projects went to the transit funding up here. And so there are people who are upset. I mean, I travel the whole state and I get to hear their feedback about that. But if the billionaires paid their fair share, I don't think we'd be in that hole. And so I can't stress that enough. Currently, the website is really heavy with all the information you could want on where every single dollar goes, and you can get it in bar charts and pie graphs. But I really feel that we need to make it easier to understand. And that being my specialty, one of the questions we always ask in the tech sector is, could a regular Joe understand this off the street? And I think too often in government, we don't do that. So I'll work on improving the ability to understand the website as well on that data. Thank you.
Representative Croke.
Thank you. Do
Do you remember the question?
Can you read it again to me? I would really appreciate that.
Happy to do that. Illinois has historically struggled with late payment interest penalties on unpaid technology and vendor bills. Comptroller Mendoza's vendor program transparency bill passed in the Senate late last year with nearly unanimous approval. And you can how to alleviate all those questions.
Well, I know how to answer all those questions. It's not a big question at all, easy peasy. No, I will say, so as a state representative, one of the questions that I get constantly within my office is, where is the money that just got passed in the budget? There's an appropriation for capital or an appropriation for an organization, and they have no idea when that money is coming, if that money is real, and it can be incredibly frustrating for long-term planning. You think about some of the infrastructure projects that we try to fund in the state, they usually require private partnership, and they're trying to raise their own money or go to a financial institution, and they can't plan for that if they don't know that that money is going to come within that fiscal year. So one of the things that I've seen done in other states that I would really love to implement within the Comptroller's office is essentially a bill or a budget to bill life cycle of taxpayer dollars. That you as a constituent, nonprofit leader, vendor can go online to the Comptroller's website, see $50 million in the budget for workforce development, which we never know totally what that means, and know that it went to the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. And it lives in that department right now. They've just released a NOFO or an RFP. You apply for that or could apply for that, and it's been granted to this grantee. And then the Comptroller paid the bill on this day, and how much of that bill did they pay? That is how simple we can make these things. I've seen it in Georgia specifically, so I know that it exists. And I just, again, believe it goes back to the whole point of transparency within state government, knowing how we spend your taxpayer dollars and building that trust.
Thank you.
Who's next? Here we go.
Thank you, Julia. Well, the bill that you referenced actually had a precursor bill that I was a chief co-sponsor in 2018 by Senator Aquino. which was really the vendor program transparency bill, which created by CMS and the Comptroller's Office for astute transparency. And actually, I just went on CMS and checked the website, and the technology bills are all paid up to date as it is. There's about 5,000 that's in the court of claims. So it is out there. But as I've mentioned before, and I'll mention again, Susanna Mendoza, who actually made no endorsement last night on TV and said that all four of us was fine, which we appreciate quite well. I just wanted to state that for the record. Susanna Mendoza has been working on these technological transparency initiatives. As I said, the State Legacy Modernization Act, which I know that she presented in committee that we have been working on, the $53 million project will enhance transparency, will enhance private data security. It will make sure that direct deposits get where they need to be. And so that is already in motion. And being the only one on this panel that knows what's already in motion with the Comptroller's Office, that has already worked with the top leadership of the Comptroller's Office, who's been looking at the state budget for 12 years, and who knows and was a registered financial advisor that we can and we will have transparency in the Comptroller's Office. The motion is already in place, folks, and I'm not going to sit there and take credit for things that Susanna Mendoza did. And I'm not going to sit there and act like they're my own ideas. We've been working together with the General Assembly and Susanna Mendoza to make sure that we have ultimate transparency for the taxpayers and to make sure that the taxpayers know where their money goes. And I, as Comptroller, will continue that initiative and will make sure that you know where every single penny is at. And I will work tooth and nail to make sure we do not take the vendor assistance program. We do not use it because it's expensive. It costs us 12% on our interest. So I will do everything I can as Comptroller to not invoke that program. So thank you very much.
We have some questions. Okay. I think we will go now to audience questions. These will be the real surprises. And with this one, we will start, excuse me, with, I believe, Treasurer Kim. Oh, let's see what we've got here. Let me look at them first. Make sure, yeah. Which one's the toughest one? Let's see.
Yeah.
There's another one here somewhere. Okay. Beginning with Treasurer Kim. If Illinois were a household, what kind of financial advice would you give it?
Oh my gosh, you guys, I literally said that earlier. So
Repeat yourself.
yes. So not only as someone who had a kid in college and literally had to like scrap every penny, there were many a day where our dessert was Jell-O with Cool Whip. But also, I will tell you that about that same time, I had a relative who stole my identity and absolutely trashed it to the ground. So you want to know someone frugal? I mean, there's nothing wrong with common sense solutions. And I bring that even to the office as treasurer where I'm at right now. So some of the cuts that we did as soon as I got there. So the first thing I do is I process math and I figure out like how everything works and then see how many hands touch something in order to like stop duplication. But I'll tell you some of the things that we got rid of in this office to cut waste was just not buying colored paper. Like that seems so easy and yet it costs so much more. I was like, why are we buying colored paper? And it was this outdated way that they were like telling the difference about, you know, different things in the office. But the previous treasurer also had a international phone plan, which why would I need that? If I'm, you know, going on vacation, I'm not going to be calling the office. I'm just going to, you know, VPN it now, right? Now there's Wi-Fi. And so there's little things like that that add up to a lot of money. I will tell you that year after year, we had one of the smallest budgets when we went to ask for the county board. Not only that, with the investment returns that I was able to find, we're in like the negative amounts of money that I'm asking because I'm literally paying for my own office. And so there's a large part of me that's like, yes, I would run this with a fine tooth comb, much like I do at home. And I am very frugal, if I may. Like I even when it came to buying a home, I was like trying to get my kids to bunk bed it, but they're, you know, two of them were like, no, we're just too big for that. But I definitely tried to super coupon maximum of like the best neighborhood I could get with the amount of bedrooms with like the lowest cost. So this is just how I live. I think, you know, it was a survival mechanism. And at this point, I can't turn it off. So thank you. Use it to your advantage, people of Illinois.
Representative Croke. And the question was?
The household
Got
budget.
the household question, right?
Yeah. So I will start by saying that I think that when Susanna Mendoza took over, the house was on fire, like really on fire, burning to the ground. $18 billion worth of a bill backlog is a lot to come out of. And I think we have stabilized the office right now. But I don't want to be really flippant about this question because the money that we spend through the comptroller's office, every single dollar that goes through the comptroller's office is potentially helping someone, serving the people of the state of Illinois. I appreciate, frugality, but we also have to think about like, how is this money being used and be incredibly thoughtful about that. I will say, I think we obviously need to maximize taxpayer dollars, that we need to look at the programs that we don't have in place. I mentioned the fact that there are a lot of opportunities for us to get federal match. Hopefully that doesn't get taken away from the Trump administration. We could still at least try. And then better predictive financial modeling, because I think we need to think about how do we change the way we think about kind of bringing those monies together. How do we think about paying the bills? How do we get additional revenues without always immediately going to thinking about a tax increase? So that's what I want to say about the household budget. I think right now, I want to give Susanna Mendoza credit because I think that she's running the house very well. And I think that's important to say. But we need to make sure that we keep it stable, that the kids get fed, that you're able to have a opportunity, that we make the house somewhere that your kids get to live in when they want to have their own families. And that's what I'm obsessed with, is making sure the state is a place where my 3 kids want to grow up and are around me when I'm 70 years old.
Well, you'll live to be 100. Come on.
Representative Kifowit.
Thank you so much for that question. Working with Susanna Mendoza, together as partnerships, not as in a tutoring or a scholastic way, but working as a partner with Susanna Mendoza and looking at her budget the exact same time as her every single year for pretty much, I've been looking at the controller's budget for 12 years. And when you look at Judy Bartopinka and you look at Leslie Munger, and then you look at Susanna Mendoza's budget, she has skimmed it. She has created all the savings that need to be. So I'm not going to sit up there and say that Susanna has not been frugal and Susanna has not looked out for the taxpayers, because she actually has. And I can almost bet that she already got rid of, if there was colored paper, it's been long gone, because she's been very, very astute with the taxpayers' money, and she thinks the taxpayers' money needs to be respected. Now, from a household perspective, I was born of a single mom, and she married my stepdad. And then when that marriage ended, it was me and my single mom. And I learned at a very old age, at 14, that you can earn a couple dollars from mowing lawns and raking leaves and babysitting. At 17, I joined the United States Marine Corps. When I got out of the United States Marine Corps, my mother had lost the house and I was essentially homeless. So what did I do of my household? I worked 2 jobs. I worked 40 hours a week during the day, and I worked 30 hours at night. I worked 70 hours a week to make ends meet. And there are a lot of families that are doing that today. So as the state of Illinois, as my colleague said, we need to look at revenue options that are not on the backs of everyday people to make sure that we are funding the obligations we need. Now, what is a household of Illinois doing right now, and what my household would do would be like, well, I put aside $500 for groceries. Well, I'm going to clip coupons and I'm going to not go all the way up to that $500. I'm going to see if I can only spend like $150 and be very frugal. And that is what we're doing right now. That is what Governor Pritzker is doing right now with the reserve funds, is he's trying to be as frugal as possible. So the state of Illinois as a household under Governor Pritzker and with Susanna Mendoza has been very responsible as a household, unlike during the Bronner years that I experienced. So thank you so much, Julia.
You.
All right, let's define the household real quick.
Yeah.
Let's just make them all adults. Let's say it's a household of 4. An 18-year-old just graduated high school and starting college. All right. 25-year-old graduated college, got in a terrible car accident, and can't work anymore. Then maybe someone who has their own company, their own business, small business, maybe has 3 or 4 employees, and the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. That's the household, okay? They're all paying exactly the same amount for rent and bills. That's what we're doing right now in the state of Illinois. Literally, everyone has to pay the same amount in taxes. So what I would say to the state of Illinois, like I would say to that household, is I'd be like, let's have a family meeting. That CEO could maybe afford to pay a little bit more than the other three. Right? Let's keep it real here, folks. Telling folks that they need to tighten their belts when they are single moms and they have to open the fridge and look to see that there's nothing in the refrigerator. You know, on those snow days this last few weeks, some parents who are used to their kids going to school and getting fed at school had no idea what they were going to feed their kids. This isn't about irresponsible people in the state of Illinois. This is about a budget that is not working. We need revenue. We need revenue from those billionaires in order to make this work.
Thank you.
I think I'm first this time.
Has everybody answered? Yeah. I think so. Okay. I think we have time for one more question, and I apologize because there are more here. Were there any from the people online? Okay, got it. We'll do that one then. This is a quick one. I think we'll have time for two. Some of you have already answered this. Will the candidates pledge? Will the candidates pledge not to invest public money in cryptocurrency? Starting with Representative Croke.
Yes, I will make that pledge. So as the chair of Financial Institutions Committee, all of the crypto regulation bills come to my committee. One of the first bills I did was a special purpose charter to actually regulate crypto within the state of Illinois. It came from the Division of Banking. This guy named Trace Raywinkle, who's like the smartest person I know. I shouldn't say that as someone who's running for office right now for your vote, but he is so incredibly smart. He was the comptroller for the city of Chicago. He was the secretary of the banking division. Had a whole list of proposals as it pertained to crypto regulation. So that's something that I've been very, very passionate about, is making sure that there isn't just this lawless place in the state of Illinois where you have crypto bros being able to take advantage of people. At one point I had someone say, like, you know, this is supposed to be like gold and like this is an asset. Okay, well, you are advertising with Tom Brady to my grandmother on the Super Bowl. So I think that we need some regulation. So I think it is incredibly risky investment. I've spent a lot of time studying cryptocurrency and just kind of the impetus behind it. And we've seen that the fluctuations make it an incredibly tumultuous investment, and that's something that I think that we want to undertake as the state of Illinois.
Thank you. Moving to Representative Kifowit.
Thank you. I find it interesting. Yes, I publicly disclosed that I would not, and I would oppose any legislation that would include cryptocurrency in the investments of our pensioners. I find it interesting, though, that I got an email about 3 or 4 weeks ago that says, do you want to have donations in crypto? You know, talk to our company. And I have not accepted any donations from crypto. I will not accept any donations from crypto or any of those kind of Bitcoin, because I believe that they are risky investments, and to continue to proliferate that would be an issue. So not only have I taken a pledge against crypto for investments for the state, but personally, I will not take any investments in crypto or Bitcoin or any of those other types of currencies, cryptocurrencies that are out there.
Thank you. Senator Villa.
This is the state's money. If I wouldn't do it with my personal money, why would I do it with the people's money? I wouldn't do it with my campaign funds. I wouldn't take my campaign funds and invest in crypto. I wouldn't do any of these things because it's just simply irresponsible. I am asking people to donate to my campaign dollar for dollar. You know, people are struggling every day and they're donating $20 to my campaign. I would not engage in that kind of behavior, and I would absolutely not invest the state's dollars into crypto. So thank you.
Thank you very much. It is true that Representative Croke did introduce the bill for crypto to Open Doors in the state of Illinois, and the other two here have co-sponsored that bill as well. I sit on the Comptroller's Bank On Commission Against Predatory Lending, and so we have done webinars where we teach people what crypto is, not to encourage you to do it, not to advise you not to do it, but you should know what it is and the risks that they are. Currently, you can see there are Coinstar machines at Jewel that will pay you out in crypto, and someone's got to tell grandma what this is, right? So she doesn't fall to scams. There are people who have contacted my campaign and their neighbors have absolutely lost everything that they have to crypto. So I think it's very important that whoever is the future controller is well versed in all types of currency, even the ones that they don't like. And I would love to say that the Public Funds Investment Act actually does not allow anyone to invest in crypto in the state of Illinois with government funds. So thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. I think we'll take one more. Time for one more? Yeah, okay. We won't take one more question. I'm sorry about that. We would like to give you each an opportunity for a 1-minute summary of why you're here and why it's important to you. And let's this time start with Representative Kifowit.
Can I ask her?
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I dropped my card. Oh, my apologies.
Quite all right. It happens to the best of us.
Oh, I have shallow pockets in these pants.
Yeah, really. Can we have a question about women's pants? Yeah.
So ladies and gentlemen, I'm so happy to be here and to be discussing this very, very important role with the state of Illinois. It's not just a title. It is really the heart and soul of the state. Being the chief fiscal officer of the state means that the $124 billion budget is under their direction. Now, nobody here has talked about numbers but me. And I have sat through so many budget hearings, it would make your eyes roll. But I know the budget inside and out. I know exactly what this office does. I've been working with controllers the whole time I've been on the General Assembly. I can step in on day one. I know the leadership team that's there. I've worked with the leadership team. We're not going to blow up the office. Susanna's done a great job with the office, and I intend to continue to do the great job that Susana Mendoza has been doing, who has not endorsed in this race, and to continue to make sure that your taxpayer dollars are protected. I'm a United States Marine. I can go up against Donald Trump. He's playing the same games as Bruce Rauner did during the impasse, and I am the one that can go up against him, save your money, stand up for the taxpayers, and be the controller that you can trust and count on. So thank you all very much.
Senator Villa?
I'll tell you what I'm not first. I'm not a multimillionaire with connections to corporate lobbyists. I'm not an investor in Bitcoin, but what I am is the school social worker who understands the ins and outs of everyday people and understands that budgets are moral documents. I have a strong belief that the people's money needs to be placed where our values are. I don't lead from behind a desk. I don't lead from an ivory tower. I am with the people every single day, listening and holding hands and understanding their problems, and that will be translated in the work that I will do as the future controller of the state of Illinois. Thank you.
Thank you. Treasurer Kim?
Thank you. My pen has exploded, so that means this is the end of this forum. So thank you all for having me tonight. Again, my name is Holly Kim, and I'm running for Illinois State Controller. I'm someone who's fiscally prudent, and I think we're living in a time where people are like, look, I don't want your polished bullet points and your limousine liberals. Like, what is it you're actually going to do for me that's going to make my life better? And that's my specialty. I'm committed to reducing the time tax, helping you find ways to get your tax refund faster from this office, and implementing things like DocuSign, where we can close on a home without entering the room, but why do people still need to drive to Chicago or Springfield to sign their papers? I'm really the intersection of money and social justice And one of the things that I've done as county treasurer is over 100 financial literacy programs, because I do believe people should learn how to use their money as a tool, including a grants workshop that we did in historically redlined areas. You need a leader who leads with intention. And that's me. In addition to 100 endorsements out there, over 100, including the Teamsters, 700, 705, After 7, I have Lucy Chang Evans, and you from this county as well, but most of all, viewers like you, as they say in WTTW. My name is Holly Kim, and I'm running for Illinois Comptroller, and I'd appreciate your vote March 17th. Thank you.
Thank you. And Representative Croke.
Thank you. So I got my start in government in Crook County answering phones, and I quickly got addicted to that feeling you get when you are able to problem solve for someone and you make their day or their week or their life a little bit better. And now I'm running for comptroller because I want to be in a position where people within the state of Illinois don't have to choose between childcare and putting food on the table, that we are paying our vendors on time, and that we are managing taxpayer dollars as responsibly as if they were their own. Teddy Roosevelt said it best. He said it's better to be someone actively fighting in the arena, doing what you believe is right, than be on the sidelines and criticizing. And right now, I think we're all in this arena. I'm in that arena, but I have been so lucky to get support from people like the Attorney General, Kwame Raoul, Cook County Dems, St. Clair County Dems, the Chicago laborers, downstate laborers, the entire Illinois state pipe trades, Speaker Welch, Marty Deuter, which is a name I just saw up there, Tara Costa Howard, Deb Conroy. But at the end of the day, I need people that are in the Downers Grove Democrats to get in that arena. So I appreciate what you guys are doing, and I hope to earn your support.
Thank you. And I think all of these candidates deserve a round of applause. I think we really have, what do they say, a surfeit of riches in 4 really, really great candidates. So I hope that this panel has helped you all understand our candidates more, and we really thank them for coming out. Again, I don't know how many of these you've done, but thank you for being here. And it's nice that you're making yourselves available. So thank you again for coming. If you have if they can stay a couple of minutes to talk to people, absolutely. And also thank you to their staffs who are also here supporting them. Thank you. Thank you for coming.